My name is Fred, and I work for a contracting company. Around and look. A few months ago, I seen a few roaches, so I sprayed. This past month, they must have multiplied. They claim if you see one, there's 100 hiding somewhere, so.
That is disgusting. Seeing all those roaches is appalling, even to the hoarders. I can't comprehend why people hoard. It just doesn't make sense because it's clear they don't enjoy it, but they still insist on doing it because they believe whatever they collected off the street is useful. The issue that I have with these kinds of people is that it's clear they don't want roaches, but there is a very simple solution to all this. It's to clean your house. It's not rocket science. It's common sense. However, they never thought of doing that. And by the way, subscribe to my channel. I upload consistently 2 to 3 times a week if I don't have anything else to do. Anyway, subscribe.
My name is Mary, and I am Fred's wife. I don't think that I am a hoarder. I think I'm a lousy housekeeper.
No, you're a lousy spouse. As a partner, you're supposed to help your spouse deal with his problem in hoarding, but she never did, which easily resulted in the house becoming in this state. Now, I'm not saying it's all her fault, but as a life partner, you're supposed to help your partner pull themselves together before it gets to the state that they are in. You are supposed to give your spouse rules to help them improve their quality of life, but it's clear that Mary didn't do that, and now her husband, Fred, is walking all over her with his filth. Here's a tip to communicating with your spouse if he or she is doing something self-destructive without resorting to divorce. We will use this hoarding scenario as a theme. Give your spouse warnings, a lot of it, when it starts happening. And when your spouse ignores your warning, set boundaries. For example, hey, you can hoard all the stuff you want in that one room. That room will be yours. But if you have stuff that we don't approve together in other places of the house that I'm keeping clean, I'm going to throw it out. If they violate those rules, then you violate the rules as well by invading the space or the room that you designated for them to hoard by throwing all the stuff out that you permit them to hoard. If they become really combative, then you may use your marriage for jeopardy. But use this method as a last resort, as I don't agree with the idea that you should threaten divorce whenever there is a problem.
My name's Kevin, and Fred and Mary are my parents. For some reason, I always knew that I didn't live in a normal house. I didn't know why I knew that, but I always did. Tons of times I told my parents that I didn't like the house the way it was. They just said we're working on it.
That is actually sad. Sad that this kid has more sense than both his parents at the age of 14. And sad that I can relate to this kid a lot. I grew up in a house of hoarders, and I hated the idea of my family keeping stuff because it has some sort of use that they will never prove useful. I wouldn't mind if they keep the hoarding in just a room, but what they end up doing is that they would keep crap everywhere, and they would even hoard in my room. This episode actually gave me flashbacks about my childhood because we also had a pest problem because of the excessive hoarding that haunted me, and my family had no clue as to why they have a pest problem, and they didn't deal with it until I have to throw out 80% of the stuff to get rid of it while getting abused because they don't like me throwing away useless stuff or garbage. I call it garbage because they never used it, hence garbage. In which, lucky for the kid in the show, the authorities came and put an indictment on the parents forcing them to clean their house because it's a biohazard and it registers as child abuse. Where were these people when I was a kid?
They charged me for child endangerment because my house was dirty. They overreacted a lot. I mean, I'm not here to harm anybody. I didn't harm my son.
Yes, you did harm your child. Obviously, you didn't do it intentionally, but abuse comes in many forms, and raising them in an insect-infested house is a clear sign of child abuse. Also, I'm confident that there is black mold in the house. For those of you that don't know, black mold is toxic to humans. I used to have a lot of black mold in my house because my family has a hoarding problem, and it led me to having unstoppable allergies that lasted longer than it should. I remember my allergies would go from February till August, then it'll come back at October to November. Literally like 8 months of a year, I have allergies all the way. After I cleaned the black mold in my room, my allergy symptoms dropped by 80%. And I even had 4 years of no allergies afterwards at some point. The pest problem is a big issue because I always get woken up by a bug or a rodent in the middle of the night, and it hindered my sleep. And I wouldn't be surprised if it stunted my growth, which I am sure is happening to this kid right now. Another thing that is dangerous, in the pile of trash, a leaking oxygen tank under a pile of flammable garbage. Yeah, definitely not child abuse. For those that don't know why an oxygen tank is dangerous, I'll include another link of a series of exploding oxygen tanks if you want to watch why oxygen tanks are dangerous to keep around. Later on in the show, Fred complains about needing a black book with numbers, and they go on to find medicine that he didn't really take for his health. This is a problem my grandparents had when they supposedly need medicine, but because of their hoarding, they don't take some of the medicine they need, and they have all sorts of health complications and have to go to the hospital to get new prescription just to lose it again in their hoarding, which may have led Fred's health to decline to his current state where he needs oxygen all the time. And Mary, who is really out of shape, is responsible for taking care of the house because her husband can't really move. It can be seen that her stress does accumulate in this episode.
Clenches her mouth and she rocks. Yeah, Mary felt pretty hopeless. And to see Fred struggle over a few small objects, Mary couldn't believe that he couldn't see the big picture.
I'm just disappointed in that. As crappy as it was home.
You see, a hoarded home is not a home. It becomes as stressful as running a 24-hour business in your house. Constantly micromanaging every bit of trash in your own home on top of having a job is stressful. You have no place to relax. It's prime purgatory. The reason why she is in this state is because, as I said earlier, she didn't set her boundaries, and her husband unknowingly walked all over her.
You okay, Keith? The guys literally just dropped right through the floor. Because I can see the trash in the basement. It's right there. So once you move all the trash out, you don't know what you're gonna find. And this is not gonna pass inspection.
That is hilarious. I remember a story of my childhood about another hoarder I used to pass by when walking to school. This lady had a hoarding problem so bad that literally her floor fell through into the garage and she was on top of the mess. And because of the incident, she broke her leg and finally realized she got a problem and have her family come and clean up her mess and fix the floor.
Kev, how you feeling, brother, about all this?
I'm feeling awesome.
You look like you were excited.
I am.
What's getting you excited? I mean, what's the...
I think it's just the fact that, because I gotta sleep back in here again.
You're just excited about having a room.
Yeah.
You want to see Kevin stay happy. He's a cool kid. He's a happy guy. And it's very contagious. Hopefully it'll be contagious enough that it'll keep his parents working and keeping this house clean.
This is why I think hoarders are some of the dumbest people on the planet, because they took a situation that they can easily control and gave up their control. Kevin is happy that the house will be clean and is happily contributing to the cleaning process of the house. If you look at kids with anger issues, it's very possible they grew up with angry parents, or kids with smoking parents will most likely be smokers when they grow up. But for hoarders, after kids experience life living with hoarders, they never want to be a hoarder. I'm an example of this. My cousin also grew up with hoarders and they never want to be hoarders. That just goes to show how this is such a simple problem that can easily be avoided with common sense, something that Fred finally developed in this episode of Hoarders. Unfortunately, the family couldn't move back into their home because there are hanging air ducts and floors are broken due to the weight of the trash collapsing everything. However, I do have hope for the family because Fred is not combative as much as I expected, like most hoarders are when their trash is being thrown out. They get an A+ for their behavior and mindset. With that being said, that is enough said. If you like my videos,